Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 85 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, October 8th, 2023, and man, we got a whole bunch of guests today. And that is because St. Anthony High School has just brought home its second straight boys golf state championship. They have been busy up north in Bloomington this weekend, securing that Class 1A golf hardware. So, Mike, the ever the efficient guest booker has got looks like we've got everybody that was playing yesterday. So Mike, I told you before we started I was going to let you handle introductions and everything. So why don't you tell us who we have got on the panel today?
Well, we've got St. Anthony's varsity golf. St. Anthony 1, I guess. Sometimes you have St. Anthony 2 in tournaments. So we have St. Anthony 1 here tonight, and we have seniors Lane Ludwig, Preston Phillips, and Charlie Wegman, and juniors Ryan Schmidt, Joey Trupiano, and Dakota Flaig. They are fresh off their repeat state golf tournament. First question: worst conditions you played in?
No.
At a state tournament?
For state tournament, it was up there. I don't know though. It's close. Last year was pretty bad.
Yeah, but in a matter of minutes, it went from not good to horrible.
I'd say those are the worst I've ever. I can't remember anything worse than that.
I was gone Friday. My wife had surgery, so I dropped Isaac off at the practice range and then left. And then when I got back, I think, Lane, you were literally walking off 18's green when I got there. And I caught Isaac in the middle of the 12th hole. And it was, if I was playing with the group, I would have been in the clubhouse. No way.
Yeah, number 12 was playing really rough all week. It was tough.
And temperature dropped probably 10 degrees. Sun went behind the clouds, started spitting rain, blowing 25 mile an hour maybe.
Yeah.
You guys were lucky. You guys were pretty much done. Who was playing anchor on Friday?
I had to finish in the rain and the wind.
So where were you at? 16, 17 when it started?
It started raining like right at the end of number 14. And the wind was already bad. Number 12, we had to play it like 45 yards up. But like that was when the wind started getting really bad on number 12. And then it started raining right around hole 14, and it didn't stop until I finished.
Yeah, it was not good. Not good at all. So Joey, you and Lane combined to shoot 152 both days. Dakota 157, Preston 161, Ryan 165, Charlie 168. Your depth, I think, in my opinion, is the biggest reason for your success this year. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fair thing to say there?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, a lot of schools have two really good players, another kid that's okay, and then they try to find a fourth score under 100. You guys can consistently put out 4 scores or 6 scores under 80, usually.
Yeah. It's good knowing that if you have a bad round, most likely there's someone else that's going to pick you up and you're not really worried about it.
Right. And I think all season, I mean, I've seen you guys multiple times, and yeah, you rarely have those issues. Regional best round you guys have shot this year as a team?
Yeah.
I mean, you were only 1 under. So, I mean, that wasn't bad. And, I watched Dakota rattle balls out of pine trees that would spit out in the middle of the fairway. And he still denies he hit it into the pine tree, even though I was sitting under the pine tree in a golf cart when it happened. So,
you know what? I almost drove that green, so it had to be.
If you don't hit the pine tree, you do. if you don't hit that pine tree, you do drive.
I still make par. I made par anyways.
I know you did, but not if it goes the other way out of the pine tree, you know. So I told your mom you needed to buy a lottery ticket when I saw her. So, 1 under, is that the best you guys have ever shot since you guys have been on the team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's St. Anthony's done in a long time.
Okay, and it wasn't like Mount Vernon's an easy course. I mean, that wasn't the case.
And we started off in the rain too, which kind of was a struggle of a start.
Yeah, that's true. What did you think about the course for the sectional?
I was not a fan of that course.
Me either.
Nope.
Wasn't very fun.
Not a fan.
What? Nobody liked it.
No.
Mike,
Liked it.
this is the
We
one
liked it for
talking
9
about
holes.
Yeah.
We loved it for 9 holes.
Mike, is this the one you were talking about before? The last time we talked, you were talking about the sectional everyone was feeding into. Is I mean, what do we mean? Is it challenging or is it just not?
It's
Not
not
very
very
nice.
long. It's not a long course, but every hole could bite you. I mean, you had
Yeah.
when you stood on every tee, you double bogey was not out of the question.
Yeah.
And it was just, a lot of gorse around, just patches of gorse around. And we weren't playing the bunkers, which is, I hate. I mean, if you hit it in a bunker, you got to have to hit it out of a bunker. But then you had all this gorse around the bunkers and random places on the course. And it was poorly ran. The whole tournament was a joke. Other than the golf, pretty good play. But yeah, it was, some holes were challenging, but I mean, you had some short par 4s. I mean, you guys could drive what, 3? What else could you drive?
4, I kind of got close.
Yeah, I mean, 3 and 4 you could drive, and then 7 was designed by someone who hates golf.
Yeah.
I mean, the green was an hourglass. It wasn't a long hole, but you couldn't go for the green in 2, I don't think, unless you were playing a scramble. Then 1 hole on the back was pretty short. Par 5 was short on the back.
16 was pretty short.
Yeah, it was. Right.
Yeah, 16, that's the one. 16. 14 was a short par 5, but
Yeah,
the green
14
was shaped oddly, very narrow, and you couldn't go long. So, I mean, there was a lot of chances to get in trouble on the course. But that's the lowest scoring I've ever seen in a regional. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of really solid players. Like I wasn't surprised that I saw like a couple of those guys in the top 5 at state or even the top 10 at state just because of how impressive that field was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we thought actually 73 was going to be in a playoff for top 10 for a long time, which is unheard of. But so, okay, so you got that done. You get to state. You survived the first day and all the weather. How was the weather Saturday?
Wasn't that bad. Started off, it felt really cold and we thought it was going to get like super, super windy, but there was patches where it was really bad. But I mean, towards the end of the day, it wasn't as windy as we were expecting. So cause we were used to the day before and it was just stupid windy. So I didn't think it was as bad. I thought it was on a lot easier.
Now, you guys have got off to a pretty good start. I saw Mr. Phillips had an eagle on the first hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far out was that shot you hold out, Preston?
That was like 40 yards, I believe. I don't know. It's kind of a blur.
You just one hopping in, or did you
No.
blade it? You hit the stick. What was it?
No, I landed it on the front of the green and it rolled all the way back to the cup and it just fell nice and smooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw you guys you guys were piling up the birdies early. You were still under par probably through 8 or 9 holes, weren't you?
No. Or maybe, yeah.
As a team, you guys were possibly still 1 under like through 8.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, let me ask you something here because you guys were all there. Mike, you've been there. I've never attended a state golf tournament or a
You
sectional
should.
for that matter. I guess for the guys who were playing it for the first time, some of you played last year, obviously. Some of you didn't. I mean, what's the difference? Is it an atmosphere thing? Is the course that they choose for the tournament tougher, or is it just the pressure of playing, on that final weekend? What is it that makes does anything make it different to be playing at state as opposed to any other course, any other time of the year?
I mean, it was my first ever state tournament. I mean, being on varsity wise, and the first day, it was nerve wracking because like that was my ever first state tournament that I ever played in. I mean, all the other guys they played in it like 2 or 3 times, and Prairie Vista, I played there like so many times I knew the course, but I mean, like what you said, the atmosphere was just different. I mean, just everybody was so focused and like and the nerves were just so high and everything.
A lot of people, and that's the thing. You got huge galleries for the most part. I mean,
Okay.
you got a lot of people following. It's just, and people are everywhere, but it's probably the most controlled. It's not like some tournaments you play in where you got parents, out of control, zipping around in golf carts being stupid. I mean, it's very controlled, but there's a lot of people there, very respectful. And I mean, it's a good tournament. Course is challenging. It's not tough. I wouldn't say it's a hard course.
Yeah, it just depends on the weather for that course.
I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't the weather pretty much always suck? It seems like I always hear about at least one day at the state tournament, it just kind of being, October, because that's what it does here. Yeah.
It always finds a way to that weekend just be the worst weather. It could be 80 degrees the weekend before, but state weekend always just decides to be bad weather.
And that's the first week. That's the first rounds of golf probably this season that your conditions weren't, your only problem this year was maybe getting hot. But now with the wet bulb test, you don't even play when it gets too hot. So, you had pretty good conditions all year until that weekend, and the season was moved up a week this year. So it's usually this coming weekend when they're at state. So weather just followed.
And if you have a lot of people there in attendance, and I assume that's, obviously not generally the case when you're playing throughout the season, does that, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not worth a darn at golf, but I would be worried about hitting somebody. I think would be my biggest thing. I mean, obviously you guys are a little more practiced, but it would always be in the back of my mind, even if I was good at it. I think that like, man, if I lose one here, somebody might be wearing it. I guess that's all part of it, though. Golf is such a mental game anyway. If things like that were bothering you, you probably wouldn't be there in the first place.
Now, trust me, they're capable of hitting people. Don't let them fool you. I've seen it happen. They have all yelled for this season because I've seen them play. But
Hey, Mike.
that's the thing. Yeah, Joey hit me once. So
Well, who's to say if that was an accident or not?
hell, that's part of this. I think it was intentional, but that's okay. He dialed me in for about 280. But no, but they when you guys play, I mean, you guys got a lot of parents there. I mean, your parents are there at most matches, so you're used to playing in front of. Yeah, it's a bigger crowd. But I don't think that's the biggest factor. Ryan, I'm surprised though you're so nervous.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got nervous. I mean, it's just a state tournament, like first ever state tournament thing I've ever been in.
So I mean, so how long did those nerves last? All day, first tee, 12th
Not,
tee?
I think it was just the first tee. I mean, after that first tee, I think nerves just really settled and just really went away, and I just started to play my game.
I'm surprised you didn't try to drive the first green. I mean, my God, you hit it so
I was close. I was only like 20 yards out. I was just 20
I
yards.
believe that. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, these guys they don't get cheated taking swings at it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
They can all hit it.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
At what point, because I know when you guys are putting in scores, everything's on the scoring app. Do you look at the scoreboard at all during your match?
No.
I do every hole.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I do as well.
All
I
right.
got
Do
my
quite often.
So Preston, you're the only one not looking at scores.
I don't
Nope.
either. I had
Okay,
no.
Lane doesn't either.
I don't look at it.
All right. I figured y'all did because at sectional, I told my kids we had to get off to a good start because you'd all be looking at your scoreboard and going, holy shit. And yeah. And I heard there was a little of that at first. So that was good. I just forgot to tell our kids we had to go to the 10th now and play the back nine.
Well, and wasn't Lane, if I'm reading it right, wasn't Lane at the top of the individual leaderboard for a while on Friday? I mean,
he was up there. We played, actually, Isaac played on Friday. My kid played with the kid who won it from River Ridge. This kid, they're going down 14 and it's blowing sideways. And he hit it up on the hill near the maintenance shed. You guys know exactly where I'm talking about. He's in the rough. He wasn't into the trees. He thought he got in there, but he was fine. Stuck at the 6 feet and drained birdie putt. And I mean, the wind is howling. It's still spitting rain. Isaac Weber was literally physically shaking on 14. He was his whole body. He weighs 80 pounds. I mean, holy cow. I mean, that's what Schmidt weighed in like 3rd grade. And I mean, this kid, he can't get warm. He's visibly shaky. And so, yeah, but that kid impressed me. He played some golf. And then we played practice round with McCall, the Rankin kid from Nashville. We played with him in the practice round. So, you know, we got to see a lot of good golf. But yeah, and Lane hung around on that leaderboard pretty high most of the second day.
Yeah, I was through 7 holes and I was 1 under, so I was even. I didn't check the lead. I didn't know where I was at.
He was 3 under because he was 3 under until he got to the back, and then he bogeyed his first 4 holes on the back. I saw, and then he kind of regrouped. But so, at what point did you actually exhale ever on day 2, feeling you were okay? Was there ever a point? This question is not for Lane and Preston because they claim they don't check the scoreboard, but you other guys on your phones are seeing that lead. I think it was 17 at one point, and then it fell to 6.
For me, I'm never like, okay, job's finished, just because anything can happen.
Okay.
So I'm always, until everybody's done with 18 holes, then I realize, okay, we just won.
Yeah, I had no clue on 18. Coach just told me just get par and we're good. So I didn't know we were up by like 8 strokes.
Yeah, your score didn't matter on 18, did it, Lane?
No, it didn't. Ryan had an 81 that sealed it, and I was still fighting for my par.
I believe it. So Dakota, Ryan, Charlie, any of you guys ever look at the scoreboard while you're playing and start thinking, okay, we got this?
When I was teeing off on 12, I was with Coach Schmidt, and it's kind of like one of the first times I looked at the leaderboard, and I looked down and I go, holy crap, we're up by 15. And he goes, like, in my mind, I was kind of thinking like, come on, we got this. And then Coach just told me, it's not over. We got to finish this. Like, got to keep going.
You still got to play the 12th hole.
Yeah.
So, and that was
12th hole eats you up.
It's so bad.
It is.
I can relate.
Well, especially into the wind, because I'm literally on the interstate driving back, and because Isaac had a half-hour wait on the tee Friday, and I told Manny, I said he's got to hit 2 to 3 extra clubs, and Manny's like, all right, I'll tell him. Well, but whatever he hit, he kind of popped up. He kind of slid under it a little bit. He hit it in the water. He hit it about halfway there. But
You asked Dakota about that hole.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it on I'm watching my phone, and all of a sudden your lead went, got down in single digits, and then I saw a big number there, and I wasn't going to say anything to Mr. Flaig about that, but you brought it up. So Dakota, what happened?
Well, the day before I double bogeyed that hole because I like popped up my 5-iron and came up really short. And then I checked the leaderboard on hole 9 for the first time, and I saw we were up. I think it was like 19 strokes at that point.
Yeah.
And so I made a really good par on hole 10, made a pretty average par on 11, and then 12, I shank it into the water, and then duff it back into the water, bladed over the green, and 3-putt. And then I was like, well, if we were up by 20, there goes, now we're only up by 15. But
you still had some other teammates play number 12 too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and I was really happy because after that, I parred out from there.
Yes.
It could have been really easy to go an 8 on a par 3 and then bogey every other hole after that.
So what were you over for 2 days?
Oh, I have no clue. 79, 78,
So 7
and
6. So you're 13 over for 2 days, and you're 7 over on one hole.
5 over on one hole. Oh yeah, 7 over. Double and yeah. Well,
yeah. So really, so next summer when you go play somewhere, when you go to, you're just gonna skip that hole and go 13.
Might as well.
It's brutal, Whitey. This hole, number 12 at Prairie Vista and number 7 at the Acorns are just too real. Could you imagine playing the Acorns with that wind?
No.
That'd be tough.
7 would be impossible.
It would be.
It would be. It would.
If it was into the wind, you wouldn't even be able to get like a 3-wood to the fairway.
Yeah, you'd have to hit driver to get it into the fairway, and then, then you hit wedge because you really can't go for the green. So
yeah.
All right. So Lane, Charlie, Preston, you're done. You've handed it off. You've seen 2 state championships. What are you gonna do now?
It's tough to say. Probably still gonna go out and golf with these guys all the time. I don't know.
Get a couple quarters out of their pocket, maybe.
Whatever they feel like.
Understand. Any of you guys going to try to go on after this year and play? Any of you 3 seniors?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and weigh out the options and see how it works out. I'm not for sure though.
Okay. Any place you're looking at?
The Heartland coach was talking to me. I was been looking there.
Oh, up in Bloomington?
Yep.
What's their home course?
I think I'm not for sure on that.
Okay.
It's probably one of the 3 public ones up there.
Several. Lane, you still thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking either Illinois Wesleyan or Parkland right now.
Okay.
I got to visit with Parkland soon, so
Problem about if you go to Wesleyan, you may get hazed by your sister. That could be tough.
I might.
All right. So Dakota and Joey and Ryan. Now that people are going to start asking you, now you're under pressure to 3-peat.
We just got to walk into it like it's just another tournament, I guess. That's kind of what we were thinking during this tournament. It's just another tournament. Each day was a different tournament for us. It's kind of how we thought it. And if we do the same thing, we definitely have some great guys coming up off of JV who can play just as good as any of us. I think we'll be fine next year.
Okay. It'll be I'm just trying to think here. What was I going to ask you? It was a very important question. I can't remember what the hell it was.
It must have been.
It must have been. Well, that's all I got. You know what? I do know this, that at the Bulldog Invitational, we will see you guys there.
Well,
And it's all starting over.
Yep.
And we'll have to see. We'll have, I think a lot of my kids are going to become student members of the country club, so they'll be out there getting some work in, maybe getting the Schmidt's pocket a little bit on the golf course and take some orders from him.
Not happening.
Hey, Brody Taylor said he can get in your pocket, Schmidt. I don't know what he
No,
meant.
he can't. No, he can't.
He's been talking. I'm just telling you.
Talks too much.
All right. Well, Taylors don't talk hardly at all, so they can't talk much. So, well, guys, I do want to congratulate you again on a wonderful season.
Thank
you.
Again,
Thank
I
you.
saw a lot of your golf this year, so I know what you were capable of. I told people at the state tournament when they said who's going to win it up here, I said it's either going to be St. Anthony or Litchfield. So it's going to be one of those two. You represented our sectional well. We got a first and third, and I think we had 4 top 10s out of our sectional. Did we end up? I never did see the final tabulations, but I thought we had 4.
Oh, in a regional?
Yeah, coming from our section. 4. I think we had 4 kids from our sectional finish top 10.
Maybe. Oh,
I thought it was pretty close to that. Yeah,
yeah.
So
I think it was somewhere right around there. Yeah, I think it was.
because it's the toughest section on the state to come out of. Class 1A, I mean, 311 to 317 were the top 5 teams. No, 311 is what Litchfield shot. You guys were 312. So 311 to 317 for Class A teams. And 75 was a playoff for individual. That tells me that was a pretty good group of players there that day. And you guys earned the right out, and then you played like you're capable of playing the state for the most part. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
All right. Any parting words of wisdom from any of you guys tonight?
I got nothing.
Yeah. Now I got to wait till basketball season. I got to make fun of Schmidt again during broadcast. I made you famous, Ryan. I said you were going to have a good game last year, and you had a good game. And
I was gonna say we always talk
Remember
good
that.
about Ryan.
yeah,
Remember
I
that.
made you famous last year.
Appreciate it.
That's what
Appreciate
it
it.
was. It wasn't him playing. It was you talking about him.
Right. Had nothing to do with him lighting up North Clay. It was me telling before the game he was going to have a good.
Yeah,
That's what made him famous.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, we appreciate your time. And it's a big deal. St. Anthony, obviously boys golf there the last 20 years or so. It's been an institution. So those are always big shoes to fill year in and year out.
6 state championships.
And you do it. And it's impressive. It's just another feather in the cap for the local sports scene. And we appreciate you guys taking the time. So unless anybody's got anything else to add, we'll let you guys.
They probably got a lot of homework to catch up on. It's my guess.
Yep, they've had a busy weekend between playing and getting having I assume there was a parade and cake and punch ceremony at school today. So yep. Well, thanks guys. We'll look forward to seeing you all on the course or elsewhere throughout the rest of the year. So thanks again, and Mike and I will talk about some other stuff. Give these guys a chance to bail out of the call. But again, congratulations to the St. Anthony boys on that second straight state championship. So
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for having us.
all right. So they're taking off, and Mike, we got a lot to talk about, honestly. And again, we just to break down the scores real quick, because I don't know that we got into a real in depth, but St. Anthony twin 311s was what got it.
620. Yeah, 622. They win by 6 shots over
Port Byron.
Riverdale, who we followed in a practice round. Litchfield was third.
And Litchfield was interesting to me just looking at these scores, because they shot a 311 on day 2, but they were 325 the first day. So they kind of took themselves out of contention on the first day. And despite
that surprised me. They nipped St. Anthony in the regional, I think 311 to 312. Couple brothers, Tug and Sammy Schwab, great kids. I mean, I've got to know a lot of these kids. So yeah, and then we had a Connor McCall from Vandalia finished 5th. Another kid from Parker Rinkin, 6th from Nashville. Tug Schwab 7th, and then Joey and Lane tied for 11th. So that's 5 of the top 12.
Yep.
Or from our sectional, which when you have 4 sectionals, that's
Sure.
pretty good. That's pretty good. Very, very tough sectional for us to play in and come out of. And I'm gonna check, get you the 2A boys.
Max
how they
Seacrest,
fared.
Max.
Yeah,
Seacrest
Max.
tied
That's
for
what I'm looking for.
21st.
Getting Max. He finished 21st. Did you say?
Yeah, I got it all. If you
Oh,
have-
okay.
Yeah, he Max shot 78 and 76 on his 2 days in the 2A tournaments. That was 12 over, good for tie for 21st. And just real quickly with the St. Anthony boys, you mentioned Joey and Lane tying for 11th. Dakota Flaig tied for 20th. Preston Phillips was in a 30 tie at 31st. Ryan Schmidt 45th and Charlie Wegman 56th. So all 6 of those guys individually within the top 60, players in the field.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you had 9 teams. I think every team had 6. So 9 teams of 6. And I believe it was 41 individuals because of ties. So 87 was the cut.
Yep.
85 was the cut last year. Isaac Weber from T-Town shot 88, almost made about a 60 footer on 18. I told him, you got to make it. And he was hanging on the edge, man. He about made it. But
and you
great
said
experience
you said the weather was pretty rough on him.
It was
right?
brutal. Well, and when I left, Isaac was in shorts, and I don't know how much warm stuff he had. And it wasn't supposed to get that cold was the deal.
Yeah.
But man, when that front rolled through again, I'm driving back from Springfield, and Isaac's dad texted me and says, Mike, this is almost unplayable conditions. It was so cold and spit and rain. And, again, Isaac weighs about 90 pounds dripping wet. He's out there in a pair of shorts, got a couple layers on. And I got to him. He was on 12. He'd hit it in the water, dropped, knocked it on, and then I think he 3-putted for a 6. And and Isaac's a great putter, and he was having trouble putting. I saw him probably 3-putt in the 7 holes I saw him play. I think he had 3 putts. And that's uncharacteristic of him. And he just couldn't get a ball in the hole. I think his hands, he just had no feeling in his hands. And like I said, I was talking to him on 14th tee, and he was physically shaky.
And that's, and there's some luck involved in that because
St. Anthony was off the course by then.
Yeah. You say like in a baseball game, for instance, it's hard for anyone to say, well, the conditions were the reason, we didn't win because everybody played under the same conditions.
Right.
But when you're trying to play that many rounds of golf over the course of an entire day, well, some people are going to get the breaks, and some people aren't if the weather happens to turn nasty.
We were the second last group off of 1's tee, which Isaac was ranked 6th going into the state tournament score-wise. Of all the kids who posted a score in the sectional, he had the 6th. He was tied for 6th best score of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 sections, individuals or team. And again, and I knew first state tournament, there could be some nerves, but he had a 41 on the front. He was actually 1 over through 5, playing well. And then a real tough 6th hole into the wind, long par 4, and he bogeyed, and then turned around and double bogeyed a par 5 coming back and shot 41, which is, I was really, really excited with that score. And I think he went maybe bogey par on the first 2 holes on the back. And then the 12th hole, it was double, 13 was double, 14 3-putt, 15 par, 16 3-putt, 17 wind blew his ball out of bounds. I mean, literally, you just watch it, just wouldn't stop. And then he parred 17, but great showing. I was just, and to talk about the sectional briefly, I was so proud of the way my kids played in the sectional because we talked about as a team that night after dinner, we went through hole by hole and they were making notes. And I told them the importance of getting off to a good start because, four of the St. Anthony 6 golfers were checking the score. And if they're checking the score and saying, holy crap, T-Town's playing great, they may get a little pressure, a little tight. And all teams after the front nine, we led by a couple strokes over the field. But then we went to the back nine and one whole bit of Whitey, and that cost us a chance to go as a team. It really did. I mean, we would have competed for winning the sectional, to be honest. I mean, us, Litchfield, and St. Anthony would have been really, really tighter. We were only 6 shots behind Litchfield and 5 behind St. Anthony, but the one hole just and it was what it was.
And just to real quickly recap, we had a trio of girls playing in the 1A state tournament individually. And Addie Krause from St. Anthony shot 81 both days.
What place did that put her?
16th place tie.
16th? Okay.
Yeah, pretty good. Briley Blummer, sorry, kind of a tongue twister there. Briley Blummer from T-Town, 91 first day, 97 second day.
And she had a great first 9 holes the first day. Kind of had a tough back 9. She was playing well early.
Shot ended up in 60th, and then McKenna Mayhood from Effingham 101 the first day didn't quite make the cut. So there you go.
And then you said Max finished 21st?
21st, 78 and a 76. So.
Yeah. And they play the Wyburn course where they play. That's a tough course. Awesome for the locals. I'd like to see us get more kids in the future, which I think we will. I think Effingham has 1 senior. We lose 3 kids, but I got 3 kids coming back who are my top 3 scores at the sectional. St. Anthony's going to have 3 coming back. They've got a pretty good group behind them of JV kids. So the golf cupboard is not bare. Actually, to be honest, I think Effingham will be better as a team next year. They have some young kids I think who'll develop. I think we'll be better as a team again with some development of some younger kids. We'll have to see. St. Anthony, they got some big shoes to replace. However, they've got probably 4 kids who played a lot of JV who are good players. So it's going to be a learning curve for them.
So make a big proclamation right now. Can St. Anthony get a 3rd in a row? Which as much as they have won, they've won 6 titles in the last 21 years. There's been some back-to-back action, but there's never been a 3-peat.
Yeah, and I think probably a factor there will be if they get. I don't know the rules on the success factor.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They may get bumped, but here's the thing. They compete with Sacred Heart Griffin and Benton at tournaments during the year. So, they're more than capable if they get bumped to compete. It'll depend. Obviously, Joey and Dakota and Ryan. Ryan I think, was off to a slow start early, but played really, really well late in the year. Dakota and Joey played well throughout the year. So, depends on how they're those next group of kids. They probably got 4 or 5 kids going to be fighting it out for those 3 spots. Just depends on how much they improve because, their kids hit a lot of golf balls, man. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh. No, they work at it. They spend a lot of time. They put in a lot of work, and I think you're starting to see Effingham and the Topless boys start putting in a lot more time and effort now. So I think that gap is closing. They're still the favorite around here probably, but time will tell.
So here's the deal, Mike. We're 40 minutes in, and I got a lot we need to touch on here. And
so
I think I want to do is I'm gonna cap it off with the football chatter, but a few things I want to hit on first. And this will have to be real brief because quite honestly, I haven't been there. It's not like I've seen the team play, but I think it's worth mentioning Effingham High School soccer got a win on Saturday, which was their 14th of the year. And that is significant because that's the most that Effingham
Most wins in the
ever
season.
won.
Yeah.
Yes. They beat Taylorville 7-1. You football fans that hear Michael Sefton's name called as the kicker for the Hearts, well, it seems like every time I look at a write-up of an Effingham soccer story, he's putting 2 or 3 in the back of the net. So seems like he's been a pretty big part of that. So Logan Arney is the coach there. Shout out to him. Shout out to them. The big thing is I look at Effingham's soccer results. They won 2 games last year. And they've won 14 so far this year. And in the
Are they 14-2?
14. Yeah, you would ask that. 14-5-1.
Because I know T-Town's one of their losses. They got beaten penalty shootout. And T-Town's had a great year too.
They lost to Mount Zion early in the year. They lost in the shootout to T-Town. They lost to Mahomet. They lost to Hillsboro, and they lost to Olney. But again, they've bounced back. They beat Charleston and Taylorville. Apparently the Apollo is a pretty good soccer conference is what I'm seeing here, because you got a couple losses there, but hey, again, 14 wins, and it's been 10 years since there was a winning record. 13-14 was the last.
Well, and you mentioned Mount Zion beating them. I think they came back and tied them. Mount Zion beat them pretty handily, I think, earlier in the year. And then they came back and tied Mount Zion maybe later.
Yes, that's correct. Mount Zion beat them 8-1 on September 7th. And then 27 days later, a 2-2 tie. So yeah, that
says a lot about how much they've improved throughout the year.
And they'll get another crack at Mahomet this week also on Tuesday. So we'll see if that.
So I think them and T-Town both have a chance maybe of hanging a regional plaque. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Be good.
Also, the National Trail Conference finished up baseball this week, and St. Anthony did win that tournament. They beat Altamont in the championship game 5-2. Altamont played St. Anthony a couple of times in the last couple weeks and gave them pretty good games. But at the end of the day, the Bulldogs, they finished the fall with a 24-1 record. They didn't lose to an NTC opponent. They're very good. And that was without guest of this show, Ryan Schmidt, at the bottom of that lineup where he was so good in the spring last year. And I don't know that Ryan will be batting. Yeah, I don't know this year. I don't know what his plans are. All I'm saying is that they're still hitting the ball. You'll always have a senior or two graduate. You got some of those kids in the fall that do other stuff. And they still just put runs on the board. Brock Fearday pitched the championship game. Obviously did a nice job. But Altamont, second place in the regular season, second place in the tournament. North Clay ended up winning the third place game in what must have been an interesting game to watch. I'm not going to say fun, but interesting. They beat South Central 21-12. That was the 4 seed beating the 3 seed. And North Clay gave St. Anthony all it wanted in the semifinals. 4-1 was the final there. That's after St. Anthony hung like 7 or 8 runs on North Clay in the first inning when they played in the regular season. So quite a different matchup. Altamont beat South Central 8-0 in the other semifinal. Congratulations to all those teams for playing on the last day of the NTC tournament, and a big shout out to St. Anthony for 24-1. Only loss was to T-Town, and they beat T-Town 2 or 3 times. So
I think maybe 4.
Maybe they played a lot. But T-Town won 19 games this fall too. They seem to be poised to have another good spring as well, and just some talented clubs. But I won't dwell on it too much. But St. Anthony and Altamont. I think they've also played in the championship game or played each other on the last day of the NTC tournament 5 or 6 years in a row. So that's sort of
Which is surprising with South Central and Northwest.
Yep. Yeah. One of those years it was for third place, but for the most part,
okay.
For the most part, it's been championship games, a couple of just programs that are in good places where the numbers are good. They keep reloading. Altamont's got
both playing a lot of young kids too.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. Cade Melville, a sophomore, I believe, for Altamont. I saw him pitch in the semifinals Wednesday, and boy, oh boy, it's first time I ever saw him, and he is, I mean, he's good. And I'm not just talking like a high school kid that throws hard and throws it past people. I'm talking like he can pitch. Okay. He is going to be causing local schools a lot of problems over the next couple of years. I was really impressed. It's not every day that I see a kid pitch and I'm just like, man, that's going to stick in my memory. But Cade did that. And I really enjoyed it. So it's,
well, you got him and the Loritzen kid, 2 sophomores, 2 pretty good pitchers.
Yeah, Aiden Loritzen for St. Anthony has definitely he pitched in the semifinals for the Bulldogs. Got into a little trouble late. I guess they had to go to Fear Day to close it out in the 7th inning. But still, I mean, that's a kid who didn't pitch varsity last year. You know, as a freshman, he was hitting the cover off the ball and playing more than capable left field. So it's not surprising to find out that he can also pitch, but they didn't know for sure what they were going to get, and what they've gotten is a really good fall out of him. So St. Anthony's going to be difficult to deal with in the spring. They're going to, you know, I'd be very surprised not to see them competing for a sectional in the springtime, but anything can happen. So there's your baseball chatter. And that leads us to the Hearts football team. And of course, they've played twice since the last time we talked. And we didn't purposely skip talking about their homecoming win over Taylorville.
No.
Schedules did not work for us to be able to get together and record. We're busy guys. You had the golf team to deal with, and
I was sitting in the hotel room going down hole by hole, getting ready for a section.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you first, Effingham 2 weeks ago beat Taylorville, or a week ago beat Taylorville on homecoming game 55-12. Beat them pretty handily. It was a nice, fun win, but then had to go to Mahomet this past week on Friday night and run into very clearly the best team they played, certainly the best defense they've seen all year. And that game ended up being 48. Is that right? 40.
48-0.
47-0, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 47. I won't dwell on that one a lot. There's a few points to make about it, but the Taylorville game, it was kind of close in the first half. I mean, it was 21-12 at halftime, and then Effingham's defense just found another gear. Effingham outscored Taylorville 34-0 in the second half. Taylorville did. Their starting quarterback did not finish the game, I don't believe. These games kind of run together, but I do believe that by the end of it, they were running somebody else out there. But that's, Effingham was doing a good job. Weldon Dunstan scored 3 touchdowns in that game. That was week 6, and he was up at 980 yards after that game was over with. And so you're thinking, well, he'll go over 1,000 next week, surely. Well, stay tuned. Mahomet had other things to say about it. But, Gage Gillum threw a little bit, 9 of 15, 128 yards. But he ran the ball, and that's something that Effingham has kind of done a little more the last couple of weeks. They've called Gage's number on some design runs a little bit more. He found the end zone a couple of times in that game. He was their leading rusher against Mahomet. But it was just a fun win over Taylorville. Taylorville won its first 3 games of the season. They kind of have come back down to earth as they've had to play some tougher competition in the conference. But still, they had not been dominated like that by anybody besides Mahomet. And it kind of gave you a good feeling of, well, if the Hearts are running on all cylinders, then, we got these tough games with Mahomet and Mount Zion coming up, but maybe we can, maybe we'll go in and make some noise. And they played well in the first half against Mahomet. Okay. 47-0 sounds like, okay, you didn't even belong on the field with them. Okay.
Right.
That's not true. That's not the way that game went. It was 14-0 at halftime. And quite honestly, Effingham had their chances to put points on the board in the first half.
Well, and I was listening to you on the way home from Bloomington. I actually honked when I went by the field, but I never heard it over your mic, so I must not have honked loud enough.
Sorry.
But yeah, they were competing, had some drives. Defense was shutting them down. I guess as they gave up one big play on the run after catch.
Yeah, the very first possession of the game for Mahomet, Effingham won the toss and deferred, which they do. And Mahomet, it was just his little dump off pass and then just 60 yards of missed tackles and run after the catch. And they were ahead 7-0. And you're like, oh boy, this could get close. But then Effingham stopped them a few times, forced them to punt, which they clearly don't have to do very much and aren't very strong at. And Effingham started 3 possessions inside the 45, one time inside the 40 of Mahomet, like on the Mahomet side of the field.
Right.
And just could not ever get it in the end zone. Elected never to I mean, you could quibble and say, well, do we try to put some points on the board? What I said to Greg after the first time when Effingham tried to score a touchdown rather than, Sefton can kick the field goal, and they were in his range once or twice. But what I said to Greg was, well, they scored so easily on that first possession. What's 3 points going to get you if you're trying to match them touchdown for touchdown? But in hindsight, I guess it would have been nice to get some points on the board, but you don't know how the game is going to, you don't know how it's going to continue going. It's just a shame never to have been able to get that touchdown in the first half and prove that you can do it. Gage Gillum ran the ball really well in the first half, but they shut Dunston down, and there's nothing Dunston could do. Like, I don't know. Given what they were trying to do with Weldon, I don't know how he could have ever run successfully. They just bottled him up. He was in hell, basically. Like,
they were just outmanned up front.
Well, that's the thing. And Brett kind of alluded to that in the post-game interview, which was just that, like, they can come at you pretty straightforward. They don't have to give anything up at one part of the field to own another part of the field. Okay. And so when they do that, then there's the hole that you can expose just doesn't exist, right? Like, there's no weakness up front for you to exploit.
Right.
And they were able, I think, probably as much as anything, because Mahomet might not have been game planning for it or looking for it, they were able to get Gage some pretty good chunks of yardage on the ground in the first half, but even that dried up big time in the second half.
Yeah, well, as they got down near the goal line, they just took everything away completely.
And really throwing the ball, Effingham, they barely threw it. I think they put the ball in the air 10 times, and there was the amount of yardage there was just so low that we don't even need to dwell on it. But part of the deal was the few times that Gage did drop back, but there wasn't any time to make a read. There were people coming at him already. So it was either get rid of it, or a couple of times his feet kind of came out from underneath him and he just had.
Yeah, I heard that a couple times. He slipped and fell in the first half.
Well, that's one of the only grass fields left that you play on in the Apollo Conference. And I'm not saying that had anything to do with it, but I am saying that, like, it was a cool night, and the first time we had real football weather, and you're playing on grass instead of turf. Like, I could see where it could have been a little, more slippery than you're
Little
expecting
buoy.
as a player. But also you've got big dudes coming at you without a whole lot of impediment, so that also could make your feet slip a little bit and scramble underneath you more than you expected. But that was just a really good defense, more than anything. Like you look at a game where the other team scores 7 touchdowns, and you think, well, they must have been a very good offensive team. And I'm not saying that Mahomet's not a good offensive team, but I am saying that that's not why they won. They won because their defense was just
didn't get scored upon.
Yeah, I mean, 47-0 or 48-0. It was 48. I'm sorry. IHSA has 47. Max Preps has 48. Greg had 48 on his game story. 48-0. Whatever it was, there was one missed extra point. 14-0, 48-0. It doesn't matter. If they don't allow you to put points on the board, then you're obviously going to lose.
And really, there were no sustained drives. I mean,
No.
they have. I think when they get good field position, they'd get at least one first down, but then it was done.
Now I will say, I mean, like the Dyer kid, who's only a junior for Mahomet, by the way, he threw for 350 yards, but I'm telling you, like, it wasn't a lot of downfield stuff. Sometimes Effingham has been susceptible to the passing game,
Downfield.
Coverage issues, just not being able to stay with people. That wasn't it Friday night. A lot of those 350 yards, I mean, one of them was a shovel pass, which I think I might have actually written down as rushing yardage in my post-game stats. But then a couple others were just short passes and a lot of run after catch. I mean, that accounts for, I don't know, probably half of that right there.
Yeah. Well, 60 of it on one play. So.
Yeah, I mean, Effingham did a pretty good job in pass coverage. Wade Busher had another interception. He picked one off in the end zone late in the first half when it was already 14-0. That was a huge play at the time because it keeps you in shouting distance, and you're going to get the ball first in the second half. So that was a huge play at the time. I don't know. Mahomet's just really good.
Yeah, no, and that was one of the things we knew coming in. Brett talked about them probably being the favorite in the conference. And then who did Mount Zion beat Friday?
Charleston, and that was a good game.
Yeah. So I mean, the Hearts, are hosting Mount Zion. If they play well, they can beat. I guess they can get that win.
Mount Zion beat Charleston 28-14, but that thing was tied relatively late. I think it was might have been tied at halftime. It was obviously a tight game throughout. And yeah, I think that gives you some hope because Charleston is a game that Effingham has to feel like they could have won. And now sitting at 3-4, you got to feel like, well, we should have won it, right? Because we didn't ever want to be in this position where we got to win against Mount Zion, where we got to win against Mahomet. You didn't ever want to be there, but in order to do that, well, you gotta beat Charleston. You get Mount Carmel to overtime. You got to find a way to come out of that one. Those are the ones that if you miss the playoffs, those are the ones that are going to sting. Getting beat by Mahomet's not going to sting because Mahomet's probably going to win at least 7 games this year, if not 8. And that's against their non-conference schedule is no joke. They're playing like pretty salty teams outside.
Right.
You're not going to miss playoffs because you didn't beat Mahomet. But if you miss the playoffs, it's going to be because of, a couple of other
Charleston and the Mount Carmel.
But that said, you got a chance against Mount Zion to make a statement, to beat a ranked 4A team that has to come to your place,
right?
And give yourself a chance to get that 5th win in week 9, and 5 wins might do it. I've probably said
I don't know if it's automatic, but I would think, a few opponents have given you a pretty good chunk of points.
Yeah, Effingham's sitting at 37 playoff points right now.
Taylorville gave you 3 non-conference points there, or at least 2.
Yeah.
And Charleston's got some wins, so it's I think if you get 5, they got a pretty good shot of getting in, but you never know. But
I mean,
it's
you're
big.
gonna
It's a
have
big
to.
ask,
And you win 5 games, and
right?
well,
You got to get a big win. You got to get a big win Friday night.
and of course you don't look past Centralia.
No, but you
Centralia-
got to get to where you can look at Centralia.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, they can do it. Okay. They can. I did, but it's going to be a challenge, and they're going to have to play a really good game. And again, I don't think they played badly at Mahomet. And I want that to be clear. I want to make sure that I say that a few times here, because that
Right.
it wasn't like, I don't know, some games I've done this long enough that there's been the occasional game that's just painful to watch,
Mhm.
where you're just like, man, I don't even necessarily want to be seeing this right now. And I didn't ever feel that way at Mahomet, because of how hard Effingham was playing and how well they played in the first half to just keep it interesting. But it just once things got rolling for Mahomet in the second half, and their defense stiffened up even more than it had in the first half, you kind of knew how it was going to go. But pretty and Coach Hefner was pretty upbeat for a guy who took that kind of loss, right? Like, I think he was happy with how his guys played as well. So yeah, last home game of the year this week against Mount Zion. Get out there if you can. Home field advantage would, getting that crowd behind you would be nice. And they need it. They're gonna need that support from the home fans. And
I think I'll actually get to see my first game, Whitey.
well, that's I hope you get to see a good one. I think the Hearts can do it. Weldon Dunston again should go over 1,000. Like, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep him in jail quite the way Mahomet did, but he's only a dozen yards short of it, something like that. And that's quite an accomplishment for a season. So those are some things to look for. Yeah, it's 3 and 4 is not where you want to be, but you can
Where you are, you got to make the best of it now.
you can give yourself something to play for week 9, and that's all anyone can ask, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one thing else I wanted to mention from the Taylorville game. DJ Latham got in there toward the end, and he's a sophomore running back. He got
He had a long touchdown run, didn't he?
1 carry, and it was a 63-yard touchdown run.
That was pretty good average.
Pretty good way to get your first varsity touch, huh?
Yeah, and I heard that we were in Charleston Invitational coming home from that Friday night. So, which we got 3rd place, Whitey. We beat Mattoon, who was at AA state, and we beat them at the Charleston Invitational. So, we were playing well late in the year.
We've had I didn't do any research on it. I know we had some junior high baseball teams that made some postseason runs. I didn't get a chance to look it all up, but that's happened since the last time we talked.
I don't think we had any hardware.
There's so much happening in the fall, and it all sort of just, I guess that's why basketball to me is the enjoyable time of year, because it's not that I don't enjoy all this other stuff, but I can really dive into it, right? Like, it's the only thing that's really, I mean, there's volleyball happening too, St. Anthony just got a big win over Windsor Stew Straws the other night.
Yeah, I saw that.
I read the story in the paper. There's just so much going on, but basketball season is basketball. You're locked in on the basketball.
Yeah, that's really what you got. You got boys and girls. So,
and that's coming up, before you know.
I'm not so sure some all school voluntary conditioning programs aren't underway.
Oh, I'm sure. Completely voluntary. I remember when Art Boris was the coach in Neoga. They called it it was called October Run for Fun. That's what he called it. And it didn't seem like anybody was having any fun, but that's what they called it.
I remember St. Anthony having an all school voluntary program, and the new coach had 3 trash cans in the gym, those big 55,000 set up in the gym. Just kind of send a message.
If
Hey,
you're
you
not-
want to play up and down, fast pace? We got to get ready.
Yep.
And they got used.
If you're not puking, you're not playing. Is that right?
They got used. Well, no, I wouldn't gonna say that. I had kids who'd done a lot of running, getting ready for it, but no, it was, necessary evil.
Well, I think I've run through everything I had.
I think we're good. I'm impressed, Whitey. 70 minutes.
Yeah,
With a
I mean,
guest. That's a record.
not too bad considering that we had a half dozen guests on, which might be the
Yeah,
biggest panel we've
yeah.
ever had too.
Maybe
It's getting up
Christmas
there.
tournament.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've only had 4 Christmas tournaments, so yeah, it's probably pretty there.
And it's convenient that we don't even need to talk about like Illinois football because apparently I guess you have to have
First and goal with the 2, I was told, and they
shotgun
couldn't
snaps.
get it in.
That's what I don't understand. I saw some screenshots. I wasn't able to watch the game obviously because they were playing Friday night, but I guess I don't understand. I've never understood working out of the shotgun when you're on the goal line like that. Like it.
Hey, it could be worse. You could be a fan of Miami. Did you see that?
Well, that they were down.
All they had to do was take a knee in victory formation. The game was over. They could run the clock out. They handed off, fumbled. Georgia Tech went down and scored on about 2 or 3 plays.
Why did they hand it off?
That's a good question. I'm assuming it's going to be on tomorrow's version of Bad Beats with SVP because all they had. I watched the audio or a clip of it on Twitter, and the guys doing the game are like, "Why are they in formation? All they have to do is take a knee, and this is over. Why are they even handing off? They could fumble and then they fumbled, and then Georgia Tech, their winning touchdown. The guy was wide. He was 5 yards behind everybody.
You got to figure all the defensive guys probably didn't think they'd be back on the field, right?
They were over there, had their victory chains on, and they were dancing to the crowd. I don't know.
Eastern.
I saw a lot of quotes on Twitter that said this guy should not have a job come Sunday morning. I guess he still does. I don't know.
Eastern lost a nail biter.
Got beat in overtime. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the other team scored first.
Ranked.
Yeah. They scored first. And Eastern answered with a touchdown and decided to go.
I thought in college it was just a battle of 2-point conversions.
I don't know. I guess this is me not knowing how college football overtimes work, but wouldn't you? I
thought all college football was you just kept going 2-point conversions. I may be mistaken.
Well, I don't know how could you lose by 1 point then?
Well, that's the thing I don't understand because at the other level, that's what it is.
I think
Who went overtime this year? Big college game went overtime.
See, that's the problem is I don't watch college football.
And I watched Indiana win a game in overtime. That's what it was.
UT Martin, this on EIU's possession in overtime, they scored a touchdown and got within 1 and elected to go for 2. And the pass into the end zone was broken up. So I thought it
was just a battle of extra. Maybe you get 1 possession, and after that, everything just goes from the 3.
I don't know. All I know is that they had a chance to win it. Did not, but they're still 4-2 on the year. And again, UT Martin was ranked 18th. I think.
Yeah, they were ranked higher than Eastern.
Yeah, Eastern was 25th. Coming into that game, I'm sure they'll probably.
Good. I'm glad to see the old alma mater getting some pub.
Yeah, it's. I have to imagine it's just. It's tough to bring a program back from the doldrums, which is where Eastern kind of was for several years. They were just winning single games or none at all.
Since Jimmy G left, hasn't it?
It's been pretty rough. But it seems like maybe they've got the right coach in place now. So
that's good.
And I think that's it. I think we're good. Bears already won this week. I grudgingly watched it because there was no baseball on, but I had told myself I'm not going to go out of my way to watch the Bears, but if it's on a Thursday night and there's zero baseball on, then
What was it on? I couldn't watch it in the hotel room.
oh,
I
it was
needed
on
something.
they put those Thursday games on Amazon Prime, so
I wanted something to put me to sleep, and I couldn't find the Bears, and there was no baseball. So
listen, like I don't know what deal with Washington is, but if you allow the Bears to score 40 points, then you really need to put you really need to. Of course, I will say all the talk about Justin Fields, it's amazing what a clean pocket will do for you. You know, you don't look so bad whenever you actually have a little bit of time to throw the ball down the field.
hey, and we had dinner tonight with some friends at their house, and you know what? Taylor Swift was not in Minnesota, so you got to watch a football game without cutaways to her every third play.
I heard that Kelsey got hurt today, though.
He did, but he came back and played.
Did he? Okay.
He caught a touchdown pass after he rolled his ankle, so he'll be
Okay.
he shook it off.
I didn't
there, Whitey.
I didn't watch much. Yeah, but is it Shake It Off or Shake It Out? Is that the song?
Shake it off.
Shake It Off. Okay. See, you know more than I do.
I don't know. My daughter's seen her like 5 times in concert. I don't know.
I've not.
No idea.
All right, we're rambling. Let's call it.
Yeah, that's good. Wrap it up. Put a bow on it.
Hey, listen. Hopefully, there's some people watching this that might not normally have watched it. So
we'll get a fan club from all the San Anthony golfers. We'll get a lot of viewing.
So listen, like, do us a favor. You know, if you're seeing this for the first time, follow us on YouTube. Pump those numbers up a little bit. Follow the Facebook page. You know,
they probably won't watch it this late into the show. We should have done that right there while they were on there.
Well,
that's all right.
Gosh dang it. Maybe next time.
All
Maybe
right.
I'll figure out how to put one of these shows together in a logical order that makes the most sense. But we're only 85 in. We're still learning.
We don't need logics.
All right. Take it easy, Mike.
All righty. See you, Whitey.